Right, we're here with That's Our Jam artist, Sheila Newquist. Thanks for having us. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? How long have you been a member?
I live in Wickford area of North Kingstown, Rhode Island, and I've been a member since 2012 and became a jam member pretty quickly after that in 2013.
Do you volunteer for Wickford Art Association?
Over the years, I have volunteered on and off. It sometimes waxes and wanes. I'm a member of multiple art associations, and I try to do a little bit at each different one from time to time. I'm still working full time, so it's sometimes a little difficult to fit all that in. But currently, I do have something in the works with Wickford Art Association, so I'm looking forward to that role, and I hope to do a lot more volunteer, especially when I can ever retire, which I hope will happen soon. So then I hope to get really a lot more involved. So
wonderful. We see these beautiful art pieces behind you, these watercolors. Tell us about your artwork.
Sure. Well, I didn't paint for a very long time while I was working full time and raising a family, and I got back into painting in 2012. Actually, after losing my dad, it made me realize that life isn't going to wait for me to have time to paint, and I just need to make the time to do it. And so I found ways to get back into painting again. And I started off mostly with watercolor because at the time I was connected with Susan Shaw, who was teaching and still teaches watercolor at her house on a sporadic basis, which really fit my schedule. And so, watercolor is a challenging medium. I hadn't really done much of it before. In my past, I did more pastel and charcoal and pencil drawings. But I found with watercolor, it's such a challenging medium, I really needed to give it full attention to focusing on developing that. My work is mostly representational, and I'm really inspired by landscapes. I do a lot of plein air painting. That's actually become one of my passions. I love the combination of getting outdoors. I often am painting with groups of people, friends and other organized groups, and I find that to be a lot of fun to have that sense of community, because you can spend a lot of time by yourself in a studio, which is also great to have that kind of focus, but I like being outside in nature. So I think what you see in my artwork is a reflection of a lot of scenes, a lot of local scenes. This is right here in Wickford, and this is down in Jamestown, this is down in Matunic, and if you look all around my studio, you'll see a lot of that sort of thing. I've been experimenting with different techniques with watercolor. More recently, I was in a workshop with Tim Saturnow, whose work I found really fascinating, doing starting in a grisaille, which is unusual for watercolor, where you start with your darkest darks first. In watercolor, we're accustomed to starting with our lightest lights and building up. But this is a perfect example where you start with your darkest darks and in a gray, grisaille, black and white kind of view, and then you splatter it, and then you put your local colors on top of that, and then you go back in and splatter some more, and it's a little scary, but I found it to be a fascinating process. It works for certain things. I've been experimenting, trying to apply it in a landscape setting. I think it lends itself more to structures like this, but I also experimented doing a self-portrait. Didn't work so well, so you just have to kind of learn, and it's an experiment, just trying out different methods of painting. In more recent years, I also have been interested in pursuing oils, so that I am really only doing in the studio at this point. I'm not ready to take it out to plein air. I'm packing the gear and cleanup materials to manage that, so I find watercolor to be so much more portable, especially for travel. I like to do a lot of painting when I travel. So still very, very beginner stages of oil, but enjoying it, wanted to get to it.
Perfect. Obvious, but where do you find your inspiration?
Well, like I said, I really am become very passionate with plein air painting. So I just find my inspiration basically everywhere I go. They say, I have that old adage, paint what's in front of you, right? So you could put me anywhere and I'd find something to draw from and want to paint. That said, I also, just really, I love to travel, and so I always have sketchbooks with me at the very least. I've taken full kits with me and find them to be a bit too cumbersome to manage when you're trying to also be on the go seeing things, but at least sketching it helps to really indel in my mind that place and space, because if I've really spent that time observing that place and taking notes, so to speak, in my sketchbook, it's that place is locked in my mind. So that's largely where I get most of my inspiration. It's from just being out and about and plein air painting.
Do you have a go-to location? Like you go there to for your inspiration, kind of draw from?
Well, locally, I have a small group of painters. We call ourselves the Matunic Art League. And we tend to be down in the Matunic area, but also surrounding nearby. We often go to Fort Wetherill or even up here in Wickford sometimes. So I think a lot of the coastal scenes really draw our group. But I also like to go more inland, and I love mountains and the forests and things of that nature. But I would say mostly outdoor type things.
The best piece of advice you've ever received?
Well, more recently, a great piece of advice my husband gave me, because I've been sort of struggling with what my goals are as an artist, is he said, just paint for yourself. And I am really trying to adopt that line of thinking, because I think it's very freeing, and to not be so tied up in what will the audience want out of what I create. Is it everybody likes boats, or everybody likes waves or oceans or things of that nature, and just focus on what resonates for me. And it's been freeing to sort of take that tact and be less concerned about what others get out of my artwork. And I would say that, for the viewer, if they looked at my artwork, I could just hope that they find something in the artwork that pleases them, or maybe it doesn't resonate with them, and that's okay. I think the experience of art is very unique to everybody, and so what it means to me may be different than what a viewer may make of it.
What's the most important skill you should have as an artist?
I don't know if it's a skill, but I think a trait that would be much needed is having patience. Patience to allow yourself to follow the process, to carry out the ideas you have, whether you're painting or sculpting or drawing, but also not to be harsh on yourself with self-judgment. I think those are really critical for building confidence in getting out there what you want to portray in your work. So patience and self-confidence.
Nice. That's perfect. What are some of your other favorite activities other than painting?
Well, some of my other activities that I love to do are travel, and I also love to go hiking, and I love to spend time with my family. I think in almost all of those instances, I also want to be painting while I'm doing those things. So I can never quite escape painting. But those are some of my favorite things that I like to do outside of actual painting. I think that for me, making art is a very meditative process. I find it really useful in allowing my brain to focus on something and kind of let go of all the background chatter that's going on in the world, and especially these days. So it's nice to have that background, to have that focus where you just really set that time aside that you're dedicated to. And I also have found over the years that I've really developed a great network of people, and art has really drawn me to meeting more people in different circles through the associations and through my plein air groups. And if I wasn't doing art, I wouldn't have those circles of people that I find so wonderful.
And do you have a favorite thing about the Wickford Art Association?
I think the gallery space is really attractive and a welcoming environment, and I like the people involved there. So I think it's a great asset to our community and to the artists.
Do you have any upcoming shows you want to share?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was thrilled to get accepted into the Color Me Green show that was juried by Sam Allerton Green. And this is the piece that got accepted, and I'll be dropping it off next week.